Another day. Lived to see another day. Everybody asks me, hey, how you doing today? I see people at work and whatnot. How you doing today? I'm like, you know what? It's a great day. Every day above ground is a good day. And I mean that. You gotta cherish every day you got on this earth. Because one day, just like that, it'll be gone. So, finally back out in the woods. Man, does that make me happy? I've been super busy. So, my hikes ended for about a week and a half. I wasn't able to get out. But that's okay. I had some great, phenomenal phone conversations. Because I wasn't able to get out for a hike, I took that time to make a bunch of phone calls, get a hold of people from past emails and present emails and whatnot. And so that was good. I made good use of my time at home. And that's why I did that. So I did Fred's interview, had that chat with Fred. That was awesome. Talked to Fred again since then. And then I talked to a great man, Mr. Don Graham from Montana. And I had a phenomenal chat with Don. Don's a great guy. Look at that. There's some kind of tracks right there. That could be bear. Check that. Check that tree out. That's not that. That's pretty fresh. Wild. Yeah, so I had a good chat with Don. What a great guy. And he shared his encounter with us with his elk. And you know what? I talked to Don quite a bit before and after the video. We spoke for probably 2 hours or something. So we talked quite a bit, and I said to Don, were you pissed off that this thing took a quarter of your elk? And he's like, nah, not really, like, whatever. It is what it is. And, they left 3/4 of it. And that's kind of the way I look at it, too. Like, it could have been worse. They could have taken the whole damn thing. They could have done something to you. And they didn't, right? So, I don't know. I kind of consider that a win. And I think Don did, too. And I read a bunch of the comments that obviously I try to read. I try to read all the comments if possible, but I read a bunch, and I think there was one comment or something in there that somebody said, that's not cool, them stealing from you. And you got to remember, when you're out in Mother Nature, when you're truly out in nature, and when you're in a true survival situation, okay, which I have personally been in a number of times, when you're in a situation like that, there's no rules. All right? There is no rules. It is kill or be killed, and it's survival. All right, you do whatever you have to do to live. Period. End of story. So, you know, this Bigfoot taking part of Don's elk, you know what? Obviously it needed it. Right? These beings live out in these forests, and you know, they don't need us to help them get game or food or whatever, but you know, an opportunity presented itself, and I believe that this creature probably took advantage of that. I would. You know, if I was in a survival situation and I came across part of an elk or whatever, damn rights, I would do whatever I had to do to survive. What a beautiful river, eh? What a gorgeous river. Anyhow. So, you know, I don't look at it like some people do, that, you know, this thing was stealing from Dawn or whatever. And then I've also heard people say, you know, about defending yourself against them. Just hang on, I'm going to flip this camera for you guys for a minute. Well, you have a look at my ugly mug here for a minute. I've heard a lot of people say, not a lot, but I've heard people say about, you know, defending yourself and against these beings or whatever. And yeah, you know what, in a life or death, you're going to fight till the death, right? I would. If something's trying to get me, I'm going to die fighting hard, or I'm going to win. And, you know, I remember Fred saying, I think he said something like, shoot every one of these fuckers. And, you know, I'm not knocking Fred for his opinion one bit, okay? Not one bit, because I know what Fred went through, but I wasn't there. I wasn't in Fred's shoes, in his body, so I have no idea what he felt. I've been in those situations as well, similar, something like, you know, along those lines. And again, it's just my personal opinion, you guys. I ain't never squeezing the trigger on one of these things, ever. Never, because in my personal opinion, you are not going to make it out of the woods. And I kind of said that to Fred afterwards. I'm like, man, I consider you very lucky that you made it out of there alive and whatnot. And he's like, yeah, no shit. But anyways, again, that's just my opinion. I would never, you're not going to kill these things, okay? You are not going to kill them. Fred sunk 3 rounds from a high-powered rifle at close range into this thing, okay? 3 rounds at close range will drop an 800-pound grizzly bear. I've done it. I have done it, and I have seen the kind of damage that our high-powered rifles, hunting rifles, can do on a 2,000-pound moose, 1,800-pound moose. I've seen the damage they do. Okay, and for this thing to suck up 3 rounds, you're not killing it. Sorry. So, you know, I just, people that say that, I shake my head. I'm sorry, but I shake my head at that, and I'm like, that's talking foolish to even consider something like that, because you're not gonna make it out of the bush. I'm surprised Fred came away unscathed. Thank God he did. But anyhow, let's get back to some of this scenery, because oh my God, is this nice. The rivers are swelled a little bit because of the rain. And we actually got some snow up in the high country, which is friggin' awesome. When I drove in, it was dark when I drove in, just broke daylight when I left the truck, and I could see the snow up on top of the mountains. I'm like, I love it. I was like, holy, did I sleep last night for 6 months? Is it wintertime again? God, I hope so. So, what happened? I told you guys there's something pretty special coming up on this video. So, you know what? I'm going to kind of share that right. I'm going to share a couple of things right now that aren't related to these emails. So I'm going to do that right now. All right, I hope you guys can hear me okay. I love sitting by the rivers and creeks. I told you that. I just love it. This is a real nice little creek too. All the sandstone here on the surface. Beautiful. This right here would be a good creek for making moonshine on. Let me tell you. This would be wild. Anyways, maybe I'll bring my still up here one day. Okay? Do a run of whiskey up here. Anyways, so I'm going to share a couple of tidbits of information before we get into some emails here. So I have a subscriber who reached out to me via email and said he's been a subscriber for a long time. And he said that, hey, was talking to my sister about your channel the other day and so on and so forth. And I would like my sister to talk to you, or I'd like you to talk to her. And he said, is it okay if I give her your email or possibly your phone number? And I don't often give my phone number out. Just because I don't want, it's not that I don't want, I just can't handle having, 12,000 people having my phone number, right? So anyways, I said, email first would be great. So then anyways, this person, the subscriber, emailed me back and said she'll email you through my account because she doesn't want, no offense to you, to me, she doesn't want, she doesn't really want you to have any contact of her contact information for now, just because of her job. So I said, yeah, no problem. So anyways, long story short, this fellow's sister is she's been at it for about 30 years, I believe, almost 30 years, and she is a animal Hang on. I can't even say the damn word. Just bear with me. She is a I can't find. I did save what her title is, and I apologize if I butcher the shit out of this, which I'm gonna. But I'll put her actual title in later when I edit this. She is an animal. She's a biologist, and she has a PhD, and she's a geneticist. Not that. It's not geneticist. Anyways, God. What she does is she studies animal biology, and she specializes in animal DNA. So I said, yeah, no problem. I'd love to hear from her. And in the back of my mind, I'm going, holy crap, like, could this possibly be Dr. Melba Ketchum? Is there a possibility of this? Because that would be cool. I would love to have a chat with Dr. Ketchum. But anyways, turns out, no, it's not. It wasn't Dr. Melba Ketchum. But this woman, so she emailed me on this fellow's email, and she said, she introduced herself, and she said, please do not share my name. She goes, I'm highly regarded in the scientific world, and I cannot have my name publicly tagged with this topic, and I can't have my name publicly out there when it comes to Bigfoot, Sasquatch. So I'm going to tell you right now, she shared a bunch of shit with me, and she made it very clear to me. She said, please do not use my name. 100% I will not use your name. Okay? And she said, you cannot say anything about where I work. I said, not a problem. And she also said, there's going to be things that I'm going to discuss here. I'm going to tell you clearly, I do not want these things made known to the public. And I said, that's fine. I said, you tell me what you're willing to talk about, and I'm all ears. You tell me what you don't want to talk about, what you don't want known, what you don't want put up on the channel, and I'll go, I promise you, you have my word. She doesn't know me from Jack, obviously, but I guess her brother said, look, he's a good dude. He will not cross you. So she said that she does not want to email this, that she wants to call me. So I said, fair enough. I said, you know what? Here's my number. So she called from a private number. So no number there for me to get a hold of her, which is fine. Like I say, she doesn't know me. So anyway, she called and introduced herself, and I said, you know, very nice to meet you. And so she started telling me kind of what she does, what her job has been. She graduated university. I think she said she went to school for, I believe, 8 or 9 years, or 10 years or something. Graduated and got right into studies of different animals and species and whatnot. So she studied lots of different animals in her career. Anyhow, she went on to tell me that, a lot of information. And I was just like, I was speechless on the phone. I just said, I'm sorry, I'm here. Yeah, she's like a few times she said, are you there? I said, yeah, I'm here, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to soak all this in. And I was making notes at the time, making notes on a piece of paper of what I could talk about, what I could not talk about. So she said that there is data, official, but very top secret data, going back to studying these people, going back to the late 1960s, mid to late 1960s, and in a very scientific manner. All right, not people running through the bush going, "Hey, who Sasquatch? Where are you?" We're talking right along the lines with what Melba Ketchum has done. Maybe not quite as elaborate, possibly more elaborate. I don't know. But she said that this has been a scientific topic since the mid to late 60s. And she said I think I brought up Dr. Ketchum's genome project, the Sasquatch Genome Project, which she knew all too well. And she said a lot of her research was on the back of what Dr. Ketchum had studied and her findings. And basically what this woman did is this woman dug deeper into Melba Ketchum's findings, documents, whatnot, and the entire genome project, just to do some verification and back-checking and fact-checking and whatnot. And then also, she goes, I have personally, myself and my colleague have personally received over 2,000 samples from across North America. We have received 2,000 samples in the past 5 years, or 8 years, I think she said. And we went through those samples, and of those, she found several samples that were inconclusive. So I'm not going to get a whole bunch into sort of what we talked about on the phone, because what ended up happening is throughout the conversation, she ended up having, I guess, feeling comfortable with me, and I felt very comfortable with her. And she said, listen, I'm going to email you from my personal email, not my work email, but my personal email. And I'm going to explain a few things on email to you. And these are things that you can share with viewers. So I have her email that she sent me. She's a fascinating woman. way too smart for me. Like, she started talking stuff, and I'm just going, hang on, what? Like, hang on. So, and I found it very interesting because for the first time, other than a little bit with Steve and a little bit with Fred, for the first time I talked to her quite in depth about my personal opinions and beliefs on these beings. And I'm going to just give you guys a quick glimpse of that too, okay? Rather than share a hunting story or whatever, I'm going to give you my quick, because a lot of people have said, hey, Outlaw, what is your opinion here? What do you think? What do you think they are? Where do you think they came from? What, all that kind of stuff. And I've been very reluctant to say too much because this is not about, this Outlaw Country is not about, this portion of Outlaw Country is not about my beliefs or my thoughts on Bigfoot, Sasquatch. This portion of Outlaw Country is about, I promised to read emails that people sent in, and I'm getting flooded with them. Flooded. I think I got like 15 emails in 4 days, 5 days. But there's been enough people ask, so I'm just gonna tell you my personal thoughts, and I discussed this, like I say, a little bit with Fred and whatnot. Anyways, when I was speaking with this woman, I found myself telling her what I think, and my opinion is these beings have been around for thousands of years. I think there's enough evidence dating back generations and generations showing that they've been around on this earth forever. Okay, they are not an ape. Okay, they are not, they are not a strain of a bear or anything. They are a people. All right, they are a people like the lost tribes of the Amazon, that type of a thing, in my opinion. Again, this is my opinion, right? Don't post all these stupid ass comments saying whatever. This is just strictly my opinion. Everybody's entitled to their own. They are a people. Call it prehistoric, whatever you want. I believe that they've been here forever. I believe that evolution missed them, or they didn't evolve near in the way that we did as humans by choice. I believe that they chose not to evolve. I believe that they choose the life that they live, the areas that they live. And so they haven't evolved in the way that we have, but they have evolved immensely. I've talked about their ability to camouflage themselves. People call it cloaking, whatever you want to call it. Their ability to camouflage themselves like certain types of lizards and snakes. There's many types of lizards and frogs, and there's many types of reptiles out there that can camouflage themselves into their surroundings, and I believe these people have that ability. And I believe that they've chose to live the way they live off the land, remote away from us. Why are their sightings becoming more and more relevant? Is because this world is overpopulated. Okay, and again, it's my opinion. This world is overpopulated. Okay, there's too many people on the planet, and we are expanding into areas that 20 years ago were completely like nobody will ever live there, and the communities and the cities are just growing and growing and growing. And I think that's why sightings and interactions with these people are becoming more prevalent, and I think they're going to become more and more every year as the world grows and people expand. There's still a ton of remote, untouched wilderness out there, and that's why, there's been, probably hundreds of thousands of sightings recorded, but that's why they're not being seen on a regular basis, is because it's just like wild game. Okay, wild game is in an area, and then that area starts being accessible to hunters, and the wild game moves further away. I've seen that. Okay, all my years hunting. If an area becomes hunted too hard, the game moves, and they get further and further and further back into the remote wilderness, away from the towns and cities and roads. Okay, I see that firsthand all the time, and I believe these beings are no different, maybe even more so. They don't want any kind of an interaction with humans for the most part. There's times they choose to go, you know what, fuck it. I'm going to scare the shit out of these hunters because they're taking food off my plate. They're taking food away from my family, so I'm going to scare the living shit out of them and chase them out of here. There's other times where they're just caught, You know what I mean? They're the deer in the headlights look, and they're caught crossing a road or whatever it might be. There's those things. But and one other thing that I believe in, and again, it's just my opinion. Don't hang me for this, but my opinion is at some time in history that these people were, how can I put this? I believe that there's some kind of manipulation, involvement from the powers to be, the very high powers to be that run our world. And this lady that I spoke with, she said it a couple of times, and that's why I started discussing this with her. She said something about DNA, was it DNA modification or DNA enhancement? There was something like that. Alteration. I think it was actually DNA alteration. And I'm going, okay, like, again, I'm not that smart. I don't know what you're talking about. But I personally believe that the powers to be have had contact with these people, and I believe there's been some experimentation at some point in our history. And I think that is why, I think that attributes somewhat, possibly, somewhat to their size and their abilities. I think there's been some manipulation there at some point in time in history. Okay. Like for me, for instance, okay, when I talk about their size and the strength and whatnot, okay, I'm 6'3", 220 pounds. And I know if I was out living in the bush and surviving quite well in the bush, you would probably be, you would lose any fat. You would be solid muscle. You'd be very fit, very healthy, be able to run through these woods like nothing. But I'm still not going to be, I'm not going to grow to be 8 or 9 feet tall. And I'm not going to be able to grow to be 600 or 800 pounds. Okay, I don't think there's a human, I don't know, but I don't think there's a human being that is 8 feet tall and 750 or 800 pounds. Right? There's humans that are, 8 feet tall, maybe 350 pounds, 400 pounds or something like that, but, they're humans, they're normal, they look like human. So anyways, I know I'm probably babbling, but this was a lot of the conversation that I had with this phenomenal lady that shared so much information with me, a lot of which I'm not allowed to share with you guys, and I'm not gonna share what she's asked me not to share, obviously. When I give somebody my word, you got my word, and I'll take my word to the grave with me if I've given you my word. So you have my word, my friend. I will not share your name. I will not share any of the stuff that you asked me not to share. And there's a lot of valuable information in there. So I'm going to do that first, you guys. I'm going to read this. It's a fairly short email that she ended up sending me, and I appreciate it so much. I feel actually very honored to have somebody put that kind of trust into me, because I'm the same way. I give you 100% of me, and I trust that you'll respect me and my wishes and whatnot, and I'll do the same, and until somebody fucks me over, and then screw me once and you'll never get a second chance. I don't believe in that. So anyways, I really appreciate the fact that she's trusted me, and I'm going to respect that. So okay, I'm going to go through this slowly, okay, because I've reread this like 4 or 5 times. Because I wanted to make sure there's nothing in here in her email that I shouldn't be saying. This is not my notes. This is what she sent me. So we talked on the phone for 45 minutes to an hour, and then about a couple hours after that, an email comes in, and it's from her, and I'm like, wow, I wasn't expecting an email. So she sent me this. Hello, Darren. I enjoyed our conversation today, and I'm glad you took the time to talk with me. I hope one day that I can share my name and full credentials with you and everyone else. But the reality is that this likely will never happen. Dr. Ketchum has done wonderful work and was able to prove without a doubt the makeup of the DNA for the species she studied. I have followed up researching her research, as well as doing my own studies of more than 2,000 samples that were given to me to study under strict instructions to not release any of my findings. Of the 2,000 plus samples that I checked, we had only two. There were only two that had DNA unknown to the scientific world. What is also very interesting here is that myself and my colleague had the exact same results as Dr. Ketchum with these two species. The two highlighted samples contained human female DNA, and the male DNA strain was unknown species. What people must understand here is that we as scientists cross-reference the DNA with every known species on the planet. And these two samples had no match for the male DNA portion. This is very significant in our work because it means that there's some type of animal out there in the forests that scientists all around the globe are unaware of. An unknown animal species. This is a major development. Dr. Ketchum was the first to find this and document it, but I know that others, including myself, have not only verified her findings, we have tested our own samples and drawn the exact same conclusion as her and her colleagues. I wish I could share more with you, but there's information that I simply cannot ethically divulge with anyone. I do have my personal opinions on what these creatures are and their origins, but as a scientist, opinions don't mean anything. We base our decisions on scientific evidence and proof. Again, thanks for reaching out to me, Darren, and feel free to call anytime. What you are doing by sharing people's honest experiences with these creatures is a good thing, and it will certainly help shed some light on a topic that has been discussed in the scientific world since the early 1970s, possibly back to the mid-1960s. Yes, that's right. Scientists and biologists have been looking into these creatures for well over 50 years that I know of. I wish you all the best. Please keep fighting the good fight. Take care. So there's a few key things there, that get driven home to me is when you have a scientist saying it's a new species that, our worldwide database does not know what this male DNA is from. That's a huge thing. And then another huge thing is, I thought that Melba Ketchum's study was the only study, and I think it's the only documented study, true scientific study I'm talking. And I think it is the only actual documented true scientific study that we're aware of or that was made public. And to know that they've actually been studying these beings, back to the mid-60s, maybe even longer, right? I guess in a way it's no different than Roswell or Area 51 and the whole alien thing, right? The powers to be kept that secret for forever. And I think maybe even some of the areas some of the things are still secret, but that whole thing was withheld from the public for forever. Damn it, I keep hearing something. I love creeks, but I hate creeks. Anyways, so much. I appreciate our conversation. I appreciate the email that you sent in, my friend, and I'd love to chat with you some more. And I'm going to respect the hell out of what you've asked me to do. And I just wanted to share with all of you guys just a little bit of that, because I found it absolutely mind-blowing. And I hope there's enough there that you kind of feel the same as me, that, you can't fake science, right? Like you say, I'm not the brightest light bulb in the ceiling, but I have educated myself a little bit about DNA, and you can't fake DNA. You can't. That's why they use it in the court systems and whatnot. Is DNA is DNA. It's your DNA. It's specific to every single one person. So that to me is huge. So, anyways, wanted to share that. I'm gonna get on with a couple of emails because it's gonna piss down rain here on me. Brutal. Where are we? All right. Next. Good morning, Mr. Outlaw. I watch your show for a while now because my daughter and her husband watch and told me I might like it. I do like your show, and I think you are an earth angel with a message to deliver to the people. Thank you. Your past life, you were a great hunter and protector, or as some say, great warrior. I never meet you, but I know what you were, as I can see it in your eyes and feel it in your voice. I live in southern Yukon, and I am of Cascadena origin, and still live where I grew up. My son-in-law tells me you hunt near our home on traditional lands, and you are a very respectful hunter and man of the wilderness. I saw your shows of sharing stories of the Sasquatch people. We call them Nagani in our language. Some people call them the Bushmen. Others, further north, the Hairy Man. But most elders call them Nagani. Nahganne. I hope I'm saying that right. Nagani. These people have been here long before we settled on these lands. The stories go back long before I was born in 1943. My mother and father both told us stories of the Nagani when I was a little girl. We were always told to leave them alone, and if we ever saw them, we must ignore them and apologize for intruding on their land. If we don't apologize, then the Nagani would bug us and scare us until we did apologize. I had 2 older brothers and many cousins growing up, and we all know of the Nagani, as well as we were all warned by our parents to leave them alone. One day when I was only about 8 years old, I was with my brothers and 2 cousins fishing the river for whitefish. I was too small to fish, so I picked berries on the bank while they fished. I was in a berry patch, sitting there, filling my bag, when I heard a sound like an elder talking in the woods. I couldn't understand her, so I stood up and go closer to her so I can hear. As I get closer, she gets further away, but still talking, so I follow her. I am now a ways from the river, and I see this face of a lady look out from behind a tree. And she makes a sound like whoop, whoop. Then her face goes behind the tree again. Just then, a very large, hairy Nagani steps out from behind another tree about 20 feet away to the right, and he stares right in my eyes. I stare at this Nagani and couldn't turn my head to look away. My ears started ringing, and he started to get blurry. Then he stepped right out and started walking towards me. He was halfway to me, and he put his huge hand out towards me. He was still all blurry, but I couldn't see him, and I could hear him mumbling something that sounded like, me too, me too. I felt as if he was going to touch me, when all of a sudden I hear my brother yelling, Rosie, Rosie. Just then, the Nagani wasn't blurry. He looked over towards the river, then back at me, and then ran away. As he passed the tree where the first one was, it came out from behind the tree, and they both ran away without making a sound. I stood there watching them until they disappeared. Just then, my brother grabbed my arm and yelled at me. He was mad because I was supposed to stay with them. We walked back to the river, and I told Frank what I saw. He stopped walking right away and kneeled to me and said, "What did you say?" I told him again. He said, "Rose, are you sure?" I said, "Yes." They were only a few feet from me. My brother took my hand and we walked back to the river, and he said, "Let's go, guys. We need to go home." Frank was the oldest, so no one questioned him. When we got home, he told my mother and father what I saw. My father sat me on his lap and said, Did anything else happen, Rose?" I said, "No, that's all." My father looked at me for a minute and said, "We must all get our coats and boots and go back to the river." He told Frank to get our cousins because we all had to go. Father walked us all back to the exact spot I saw the Nagani, and we stood there as my father left 4 whitefish and a hide roll of tobacco where I showed him they were. My father spoke to them and apologized for intruding their lands and asked them for their forgiveness. We all had to say sorry, and then we turned for home. Nobody said anything until we got home, and then my father said, "No more fishing that spot this year. Find a new spot. Then we can go back there next season." My father warned us that the Nagani will speak like people to lure you away, and then bad things might happen. He said we should never go to voices we don't know, and if we ever see these people, leave immediately. That was the first time I ever saw them, but my life was different from that day on. I would see them several times a month after that, and a few times right in the village, right outside my house. I've seen them in broad daylight, but generally it's at sunset or at nighttime. They have come right to my bedroom window and look in when I'm trying to sleep. I screamed for my father, and when he got to my room, they are gone. I still see them on occasion, but not as much as I used to. I'm old now and don't walk very far no more. I was very sick in October with pneumonia, and I had a Nagani sitting at the edge of the forest by my home for 3 weeks. Anytime I tried to show my daughter, he would disappear. One day she come to bring me soup, and he was there sitting on a stump watching me since I wake up. I show Carol, and she saw him stand up and walk away. This was the first time she ever saw one, and she was scared because of all the stories she heard. I tell her they are not all bad or want to hurt us. I don't think, but Carol was still scared. It's end of November now, and I'm better, and I haven't seen one of them now for a couple weeks. That's good with me. These people have healing powers, and they can speak without saying a word. They can come and go with the blink of an eye. I have heard many stories in my life about these people and how they have scared people. They've scared me at times too. but they have never hurt me. I think we have much to learn, and people like you are helping that to happen. If you want to talk sometime, I can tell you more. I have lots of times I could tell you about. Thanks, Mr. Outlaw. Suga Senla. Suga Senla. Goodbye. In brackets, goodbye. Suga Senla. Rose Johnny. Well, Holy Mother. Rose. Thank you very much, Rose. I appreciate that, my friend. I'm actually quite familiar. Shouldn't say that. I'm actually familiar with the Cascadena people. I know several of the Cascadena of BC in northern British Columbia because I do hunt on their traditional lands. Obviously, I'm not allowed to hunt in the Yukon, but I've heard other stories. Other people have shared somewhat similar experiences, and I don't know. When I hear from the First Nations people, and especially some of the First Nations elders people, I just love it. I absolutely love it. Thank you so much for sending that in, Rose. And of course, I'll get a hold of you. I'd love to have a chat with you. I'm a little alarmed about because I've also heard of them mimicking people's voices and sounds of children, and that actually kind of sent shivers up my spine. That kind of I'm kind of alarmed by that a little bit. Like, why was this thing calling you? Why was it coming towards you with its hand out? Like, what the hell was going on there? That's a little alarming to me. Like a young girl. Yeah, you're out there with your older brothers and cousins and whatnot, but for a young girl, that's a little bit alarming. Boy, if I was your dad, I don't know if I'd be going back and just saying I'm sorry. I'd be going back and saying, you leave my fucking daughter alone, or it may not do a damn thing, but I'm going to pump you full of lead. I don't know. I want to ask you about that one because that's a little alarming. Anyways, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. And you know what, guys? I don't even know what time we got. Oh my goodness. What time we got here. I got time for another short one or not. Let's see if we got another short one here. What do we got? All right, let's do one more. If it's too long for you, don't watch it. Watch half of this video today and half tomorrow, whatever. Anyways, here's another one. Hello, kind regards from Grimshaw, Alberta, Canada. I know where Grimshaw is. And oh my gosh, I hope your friend is good and didn't contact any diseases from that needle. I remember that. Okay, this is going back a bit. I will go from my earliest to latest. Last May of 2024, I decided to investigate our Clear Hills 152C reservation. I found a new spot. And it's really cooled down. Holy cow. I said to you guys the snow is not far up in the mountains, and it's the temperatures are really dropping here. Anyways, guys, so that was, I don't know what's going on at that other spot, but my camera went berserk again. And I tried it 3 times. Turn it on, full charge, nothing wrong. Turn it on, set up, sit down, go crazy again. So I was like, fuck it, I'm out of here. I'll go find a new spot. And let's hope it doesn't happen again. I don't know. I don't know what causes that. This is a great camera that I use. It's a very high-end camera. And very rarely does it ever act up on me, but it sure did that time. But anyways, I have no idea until I get home and edit. I have no idea where I got cut off I'm almost positive, I pray to God that Rose's story didn't get interrupted. So I just want to touch briefly on that, what Rose had to say. Rose said a few very interesting things to me. She said in the email, it said, like, I forget exactly now, my mind's scrambled right now, but I believe Rose said something about in a prior life you were a great hunter or something like that, and those words are very powerful to me. Anything from the First Nations people is very powerful to me, and I have just the utmost respect for them and their beliefs and their culture, and that kind of stuff really means a lot to me. And it kind of took my breath away when she said those things, just from seeing me on video, because many years ago, 7 years ago, when I lost my dad, I was going through a dark hole, and I was on a bad road, and I went and saw a psychic, right? Whatever. I went and saw a psychic, and she helped me through the rough patches I was dealing with the loss of my dad, and I know she was the real deal, because she knew things that only me and my dad knew. She said things to me that only my dad and I knew, so I know she was the real deal. And anyway, she said to me, she was the one that said, she said that I had this huge guardian angel behind me. And the guardian angel was there in the room with me, and she said that guardian angel saved you many a times. Anyways, I'm getting off track here. This psychic said to me, in your past life, you were a healer. you were like a First Nations, you were like a native doctor, healer, spiritual healer. And she went on a little bit about that, and of course I was just like blown away, and I was so into that. And I remember that, and I treat that with great respect. So to hear Rose say something along those lines, I forget exactly what she said, I apologize, Rose, but to hear Rose say something along those lines was very moving to me. I could tell in a past life you were a great hunter, or provider, or something like that, just by looking in your eyes and listening to you talk or whatever. So huge respect for that, Rose. I appreciate that so much. And yeah, that was pretty wild, everything that Rose had to say there. As I said, it worries me a little bit about the whole, that being approaching her, putting its hand out, calling her. That's scary, like, to me. I don't know. Rose's explanation didn't sound like she was too worried about that, and neither did her dad. But anyways, I'm going to reach out to Rose, because I try to reach out to everybody that is kind enough to send me an email. It's the least I can do, is to try to get a hold of you and maybe have a chat with you, Rose. I really appreciate that. And if you're watching this, I'd love to maybe have you and your daughter do a video call with you guys and have a chat with you about it. And if there's anybody else in your community, I'd love to have a chat with you about it. I give you I have a lot of respect for you, and I'm very, very, I'm very happy that you were able to share that, because I know in your community, in your culture, it's something that you shouldn't do or don't do or whatever, but I really appreciate it. So anyhow, okay, before it gets dark, I still have 3 game cameras yet to check. So before it gets dark, I'm going to get this other email read out and get going. Get the hell out of here. Okay, here we are, back at it. Okay, there we are. It's a fairly long email, so if it's too long for you guys, watch part of it now and part of it tomorrow. Whatever you want to do. I don't care how long the emails are. I don't care. If your email is 9 pages long and that's what you need to send, and you want to send me regarding this topic, send it. There's no time. I've had people say, oh, I'll try to condense it for you. I don't need it condensed. Okay. Here we go. Hello, kind regards from Grimshaw, Alberta, Canada. And oh gosh, I hope your friend is good and didn't contact contract, I'm thinking you meant contract any diseases from that needle. I remember that needle. A buddy of mine that got stabbed with a needle by a drug addict. I will go from earliest to latest. Last May of 2024, I decided to investigate our Clear Hills 152C reservation where my mother was born. It is in between of Eureka Creek and Worsley, Alberta, at the bottom of the Clear Hills. My mother passed away in 1982. She told me about her childhood experiences growing up on the Clear Hills res. She told me that they grew up next to a family of Sabe, amongst other creatures. My dear mother comes from healers. She just couldn't heal herself from the destruction of the residential school put on her soul and body, and we lost her when she was only 42 years old. Man. I needed to go back up there, and what I found out was it is all true. My brother Charles and his friend saw a Sabe being up on the hills east of the reservation about 8 years ago, so I asked him to show me where it was. It was at the bottom of an oil field service road. To the west of the road was an old bower pit filled with water, and to the east was a massive game trail that had a big X that was at least 15 feet tall. There was one poplar tree pushed at a 70-degree angle and another poplar tree put in another angle to form the X. On the way back to his place in the Eureka Creek, we did a lot of investigating. We found massive game trails, another X, and this old teepee-style structure. And we walked down this game trail, and I found this tree structure that looked like a 15-foot hunting blind. There was a big spruce tree pushed over, and another tree placed on top of that, and looked to be pushed down. Then another spruce tree placed on top of that, with willows and other trees on this scary-looking structure. There were 2 trails going to the structure, and most of the grass and willows were pushed down with a lot of steep impressions everywhere. I couldn't make anything out. We got out of there and made our way to the res. I wanted to go to the mass gravesite there for a prayer session. We have a community range there, all fenced in, and there were horses there at the time of this encounter. I got my bro to drop me off at the gate. He gave me his .22 long rifle, and off I went. It started to snow out of nowhere, and not even 100 meters into my walk, to my right, I noticed something white in the willows. At first, I thought it was a tarp because it was moving. When it stopped moving, I saw a white being standing in the willows looking at me. I had my phone ready to go, so I had the phone up and I started magnifying the picture, but it went blurry. I looked at it and it seemed like there was a heat wave effect in front of it. So I took the magnification off and snapped the pic, and I didn't even see that 12 to 14 foot dog man standing to the right of it. I started to walk towards it, and it blended in with the willows and was gone. Now, any normal person would have turned around and got out of there, but because of my FASD and brain injury, I don't get scared easily. Plus, I know Father in heaven and our Savior is with me. I walked another 100 meters and noticed something black on all fours, not even 100 meters from me. Then, with this one too, there was a heat wave effect in front of it. I took one picture of it and decided not to go right at this being. There was a stand of trees to my right, so I decided to go around it and see if I could get behind it. I came around the corner, I came around the other side, and it was gone. I went to where it was, and nothing. No tracks, no sign of it. I noticed we were close to the Eureka Creek. If you Google map the reservation, you will see we have left it as a wildlife sanctuary, and the beavers have taken over the area. I walked to the bank, and there was a deadfall, and there was deadfall everywhere, so I couldn't get close to the bank. I found a little area by ground about 4 feet by 4 feet. I was on my knees scanning the bank, and there was still ice on the creek. And I seen this brown thing, and then kerplunk, and water splashed up. At first I thought it was a beaver, but then I thought, there's no way the beaver could break through the ice. Then I saw a 2-foot boulder just about hit the same place. Then again, kerplunk, and then water splashed up. This time it freaked me out. So I got out of there and went and found the cut line to the mass grave site. I put my faith in the Father, our Savior, and carried on. It wasn't very far to the cut line, and about 150 meters into the bush. The gravesite is fenced off, and we don't know how many people died here of the Spanish flu. There are 2 headstones. One is for our old chief Pililo, and the other is a memorial for the ones who died here. Pililo and his mother saved their people and whoever could walk from Fort Dunvegan. And they walked a long way and hid up in the clear hills. The grass was tall, and it's been a long time since anyone worked in there. But there was a wore-down trail between the headstones. I started praying at the gate, and then dropped tobacco down, then carried on to the headstones. I got to the first one, then walked on the trail to the second stone, only 15 feet away. I turned around to leave, and laying on the ground was this beautiful blue spruce bough shaped into a flower leaf. Well, that's how I saw it. So I picked it up. It was shaped into this shape, and it reminded me of a bug fan. And that little trail in between the 2 grave sites was so what the heck made it? There was always something very special about this site. My first son and I were hunting in this area in 2002, and we saw this huge white hawk with black spots on it. It flew up from the middle of this gravesite, so I took the object out of the gravesite, closed the gate, and finished my prayers. I decided to give my right knee and ankle a break before the walk out. I found a stump, sat down, and lit up a cigarette. I looked across the cut line, and at about 30 feet from me was a white sabe standing in the willows. So I got up and said out loud and in my head, I don't mean you any harm, but this is my land too. And I'm just here to pray for my loved ones and my ancestors. And I started my walk out. I felt a bit vulnerable in the bush, but once I got out in the grazing area, I felt at ease. Plus, I said the Lord's Prayer over and over, and there is power in the Lord's Prayer if you use it. When I got out in the open, I started taking pictures. Then I noticed fresh moose tracks, and it was running. So I tracked it to see where it came from, and you could see it was pooping while it was running. The tracks came from the area where I first saw the big white being and Dogman. This is what I think happened. I walked right in between them, hunting. Now, another reason why I say this is because when my bro dropped me off just on the other side of that big willow patch, where those beings were standing, was a young moose. And if you look at that Dogman, it was going in that direction. My bro picked me up at the road, and we went for supper and then back to his house. I couldn't sleep all night, and about 3:30 in the morning, something hit the roof of the house and hit it hard. The earliest that I can remember seeing one of these beings was on a heli portable job west of Chetwynd, BC in 1991. I actually saw one chasing a bull moose down a mountain. The damn thing stopped and looked up at me, and then it was gone chasing the moose. Why me? I don't even know, but if you live in the Eureka River Worsley area or around our reservation, be very careful because they're out there. If you have been losing cattle in the area over there, be very careful. I will attach pictures from my phone and from my game trail cameras. I know the pictures say 2022 on them. Because I couldn't figure out how to set the time on my cameras or the date. There is a picture of an elk from my game trail camera, and something threw a stick at it, and something broke a poplar tree next to the tree the camera was on, and placed the top of the tree in front of the camera. And those pictures, which seems like it's glowing blue at one of them, and you can see the nose and mouth of something. This is just for you if you want to talk over the phone. And he leaves his number. That is from Barry. I'm not going to say Barry's last name because I'm not sure if Barry intended that to be shared, but that's from Barry. Barry, wow. A lot of information there, man. A lot. I know that Clear Hills area. I know several of those areas in Alberta. Norskeg is another huge area for these beings. Lots and lots of shit happening there. I'm going to reach out to you, Barry. You damn right. And I'll try to remember to add Barry's pictures. I do remember seeing them, his pictures that he sent me. So I'll try to remember to add those into this video as well. I appreciate it, Barry. Thank you very much. There's so much, man. Pretty wild. 2 emails today, and I don't pick these, you guys. These just come off my list as I go to the last one that I read, and I go down from there and to the next one in line. And so there you have it, right? 2 emails in the same day, both from First Nations people in Canada. And it doesn't matter where they're from, but just 2 First Nations peoples. And that's fantastic. I really appreciate that, Barry. Thank you so much. I know Robert Swan Lake Bigfoot. He had interactions with a white Bigfoot, and I remember somebody else. I remember seeing another picture from someone else of a white Bigfoot. Why not? There's white black bears, there's white grizzlies, there's white moose, pure white albino moose. So why wouldn't there be white Bigfoot, white Sasquatch, white Sabe? Of course there would be. Anyways, I really appreciate that, Barry. Thank you very much. I will reach out to you, and I will reach out to Rose. And I've probably taken enough of you guys' time for today. And I know I'm going to be late. I know it's going to be dark, and my wife's going to give me shit. So I better get rolling. But one more thing I just wanted to add, let you guys know. So Don from Montana that I had the interview with, great man. And Don has extended an invite to me to meet up with him in Washington, where he had his experience in Washington State. And Don and I spoke a couple of times, and might that happen? Sure, it might. I think it'd be pretty cool to throw the pack on and go spend a few days with Don in the mountains there, where he had his elk quarter ripped apart or ripped off. And Don says he's going anyways, and I'm more than welcome to join him. He extended the invite, and I think that's awesome. Thank you very much, buddy. I really appreciate that. And yeah, so I'm gonna definitely have some more discussions with Don about maybe looking to get together in September, early September. I told him it has to be like very early September, because September 15th I'm out of here, man. I'm gone for a month moose hunting and sheep and caribou. So I said it has to be before that, and he laughed. He said, of course, would never want to interfere with a man's hunting. I want to give another shout out to my awesome collaboration company, Flannel Go. I've got their shirt on today because I knew it was going to be cool this morning when I left, so I put the flannel shirt on under my QU jacket, and this QU jacket's very warm to begin with, but with the flannel on underneath of it, I'm toasty. So again, I want to thank our scientist, our animal biologist, and again, boy oh boy, I can't believe I can't remember the name. These big words, I'm not good with big words. anyway, she thank you very much for having our discussion and sharing that. Thank you, Rose. And let's get packed up. Let's get out of here before I get in bigger shit than I'm already in. All right, so thank you to, I can't say your name. Thank you to Rose, and thank you to Barry. Appreciate all of you. Okay, guys, I am gonna get out of here. You guys have a great day. Be safe. And you know what? I say it every time because I mean it. I really mean it. Be a good person. All right? Do something nice for somebody. And it's just a good thing to do. All right? This world needs more good people. You know what I mean? The other day I was grabbing something to eat for lunch, and there was a very elderly lady, and I don't know, she looked like she was struggling a little bit, and I think she had ordered something in front of me, and she looked like she was struggling to find her card, and she was shaking, and she was reaching in for her wallet or whatever, or reaching into her wallet or whatever, and to pay for her meal. And I was next in line, and she like pulled out like a $5 bill, and she looked at it, and then she looked, and the lady goes, no, it's $9 and whatever, 75 cents to the lady. And she goes, pardon? She couldn't hear. And so anyways, I said, you know what? I said, her lunch is on me today. Add it to my order. And I gave the lady my card, and I ordered my lunch, and this nice old lady didn't really know what had happened. And she goes, that man bought you your lunch. And she turns around and she goes, well, thank you, dear. You didn't have to do that. And I said, I know, but it sure made me feel good to do it. So do something nice for somebody. Be a good person, right? I'm out of here. Later.